Hi and Happy New Year. My name's Demara, and today we're going to be talking all things shadow. This is one of the most important things that you'll ever discover about yourself and who you really are, because when you go beyond the shadow, those aspects of ourselves that come about through our damaged inner child, our traumatic childhood, when we should have been building the strength of who we really are. So in order to find out who we really are, we really do have to look at our shadow self. And this is something that a lot of people just totally ignore. They are who they are, and they will tell you with confidence that this is what you have to expect. This is who I am. And it's a really interesting thing, because one of the most magical things you can do is to discover what is beneath the shadowy covering of your magical self. And it's really a really interesting subject. I've spent most of my adult life working with people to uncover their magical selves and to heal the shadow that is stopping them being everything that they can be. And for the last couple of days, I've been mulling this over within myself as to how to address this with those who don't see it as a really big problem that they have a shadow self, and may not even have considered that there's another amazing part of themselves that could shine completely through, where the shadow just disappears. All their fears disappear. All of their dark qualities disappear. But it is the truth. During my work with others on a one-to-one basis and in group settings, actually, over the years, I've worked out a healing agenda, if you like, for people, where they can start to uncover what is in their own subconscious. That means that they activate more from the shadow than from the real self, or they're acting only from the shadow. And that you can find in the videos that are already loaded. And it's a series called Fast Track to Cosmic Consciousness. And I think if you have a look, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, of those. And one of them is the whole process work, where you actually do written work, which is not very long. It's just 20 minutes, maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week, depending on how quick you want to get to the magic. But I'm going to try today, and hopefully succeed, in examining how this works. You know, how can we be somebody that we really are not? I think in general, if you look at the masses on our earth, I would say there's more people activating purely from shadow than from anything else. And that may sound crazy, but you see, with the people that have woke up, have started their healing, or maybe have been on their healing path for decades and are already helping thousands of others, we are in a bubble, aren't we? You know, we don't mix. Like recently, I've had access to somebody just in a very strange way. And I'm going to use this as part of my examples here, because it's really brought this to the fore to me that we really, you know, we live in that bubble because we mix with people that we align with, that we resonate with. So we may look from afar and say, oh my God, look at all those government officials. They're kind of, you know, they're so asleep and they're so coming from the wrong point of view. And all of that is very true. But when you start to personally associate with somebody, and I was asked by Spirit to go in and contact somebody, and this was directly contact them, not on a like spiritual level or on a telepathic level. I was asked to go in and warn them that everything was about to collapse around them, because the negative energies were all around them in every area of their life, in their relationship, in their work, in their personal affairs. And I wasn't told any more. But this wasn't only for me or for them, really, because that's how I first viewed it. What I view it as now is totally and utterly different. It's given me just such another level of understanding how we participate within our lives and have connections that we don't even really know are doing us harm until we actually go deeper into that or really recognize that. And that can be with families that we've never disconnected with, even though they were working to be a detriment to our own lives, which a lot of people that I've worked with who had very traumatic pasts, they have not seen that in some cases, where they're still really, really connected into the old habitual patterns of a family that may have been going on for generations, 3 or 4 generations that they even know about, where the same patterns are passed down, and they're not even aware of that. Even though they may have started their own healing journey, they are still marred by these patterns and they are still repeating them themselves. So this is the level, another level of the shadow, where we really need to look at what we do and what we are an accomplice to. Because my own story is that, and I've told a little bit about this on a twin flame video, but that I did meet somebody that I had an incredible connection on all levels with, which didn't last very long, because even though at the beginning of the relationship they were very much into their higher self, because we were both, I was already on a journey, a spiritual journey, and had taken a meditation technique that was offered from a Indian guru. And I was following my meditation path. I wasn't following the guru. I never saw it like that. I saw that I was offered a gift and I accepted the gift and I worked with the gift, rather than just following a guru around, which a lot of people do. But this person, when I met them, decided they wanted what I had, and I introduced them to this pathway, which they were given many blessings because of the fact that I was already part of this. And what the initiators saw was that we had an incredible divine connection, and they allowed this person to go through much quicker to get their meditation technique. This didn't actually lead them forward on a spiritual path, because what they didn't do was meditate, and they didn't actually use the technique, because they found it easier just to be, as I remember them saying, listen, I'm in your company and I get this from you. I feel this depth because I'm with you, which wasn't what the whole thing was about. It was about them initiating their own divine self into activity. But that's the way it went. And they very quickly reverted into shadow on several occasions, which was quite frightening and quite strange, and their behavior changed. So we parted. Now, over the 40 years, I already had 3 children when I met this person, and I went on to have a few other relationships, and then realized that nothing was ever going to match up to this connection on all levels, spiritual, emotional, mental and physical, that I had with this person. And even though I was not in contact with him after, the first 5 years, we corresponded occasionally before that. So for 40 years, I did not have contact direct physically or in conversation or anything like that with this person, and heard occasionally about what they were doing, what they were not doing. So it was a kind of strange thing, but I never let that connection wholly go. This is what I knew myself, always knew that. And eventually I just stopped having relationships because it just felt boring, and it just felt like repetitive stuff going on, even though you do learn through every relationship on an intimate level that you definitely do learn different lessons, which I did. And then I decided I was just going to get on with the work that I loved, and I was working with a lot of other people, always doing life readings for people. I was also a channel, so I had already channeled books about the earth changes, which were on a very deep level of contact with the divine. So I was very happy in myself to live that life. And I had no idea until I was asked to contact this person, because what had happened is December last year, not 2023, 2022, I suddenly, I had decided that it was time to never ever look to see what they were up to, or to ever occasionally, like maybe every 2 months, maybe sometimes every 3 months, I'd have a look to see what they were doing. And because we can on the internet, and at various times I would do that. And in January of 2023, I decided that it was time never to do that again, because when I did have a look, I was getting more and more thinking, oh my God, that their energy is so different to mine. And I also knew that their shadow was pretty alive and kicking, because I had contacted them over the years, many years before, to say that why were they lying on their CV? And they were a popular person within a big company, but also on the internet with lots of followers. And they were actually lying about their background and what had actually happened to them, and in various different ways. And I knew that because I knew all the details about them. And I also had known many members of their family. So I had no idea really, except that in January of 2023, I decided I really didn't want to look ever again. And that felt really good. So by the time like July came, I remember one day thinking, oh my God, this has had no bad effect on me at all, not knowing what they're up to or whatever. In fact, I feel really good. And I was thinking, I'm getting another level of detachment. And it was just around that time that I'm suddenly asked by Spirit to contact them, because they have a lot of negative energy around them. And I didn't do anything about it, but I did go back in to the internet and have a look to see what they were up to. And they were traveling in another country at the time. And what suddenly overpowered me was that I'm looking at them and their energy's looking back at me. There was this huge moment and I'd never ever thought that this was happening over the years. I thought it was just me who held on to that connection. And I suddenly realized that they were keeping really big tabs on what I was doing. And this was quite shocking. And I started to put things on my Instagram page, actually, to see whether they would respond, and they did on their site. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? And this is really odd, because I'm over this. I've reached another level of detachment. And it was at that point that I was asked to go in and warn them, which I did. And what actually happened was there was this horrible messages coming back at me, and they were nothing like I remembered them. In fact, I thought they were rather like a monster, some really hard-nosed earthbound creature who really couldn't be polite even, and certainly couldn't relate to me and my energy and the light-hearted way and very honest and very true way I was addressing them and talking about our connection in the past, etc., etc. So I was very quickly out of there and had to destroy. I just removed all those messages that came up. I do not any longer have access to them. I couldn't stand to read them because this was not the person I knew. This was somebody who was so in shadow, I would never have met them. Because we meet those who we resonate with. So this was a really big horror. But what I'm now realizing, because my energy, as I left and said, oh my God, I really need to get out of here. I've passed over the message, which they totally ignored and thought was rubbish from the divine, and I'm out of here. And I did it in a very light-hearted way. And as soon as I did, my energy centers lined up in a much, much more stable way. Now, I'm not somebody that over the years has been unstable in any way. I've always been a meditator. I am vegan. I've been celibate for like over 20 odd years. I don't drink. I've never touched drugs, only in the 70s when we did it as an experiment with friends that I traveled with. So I was very clean living and very stable, all my, last, 30, 40 years of my adult life, and actually helping others across the world to be the same and to live their higher purpose. So I was certainly not unstable before. So this was quite shocking that as I walked away, something even better was happening, and this is why I want to talk about this, because yes, I knew about the fact that I had to heal my shadow, and I did that decades ago, and have gone through, because I don't think it ever ends. I think we keep going with that. So I've gone back to that healing as well and really looked at myself intently in that way. But what really shocked me was the fact that I held on to that connection all those years, actually had stymied my growth. And I would never have known that had I not have been sent in by the universe to go and warn them. And I almost feel like they tricked me, but they did need warning, because from what I can see from a very large distance, because there is a very large distance between us, they didn't heed the information from the universe, and certainly everything is being exposed and coming to a head, because there was a lot more of a deep, dark, evil shadow life than I could have ever thought there was. But what I had done was remained connected. Not in a big way, because we never spoke or never saw each other for 40 years. But I allowed that energy connection to be there. And I had no idea that I could have been even healthier. Like, I don't have any illnesses, and I'm 75 now. I don't have any symptoms of anything. But it's the spark. My spark grew larger the moment I left that website that day, where I had been chatting to this person that I realized I had no resonance with at all. And my energy just grew higher. I got really set on starting my new YouTube site, which we're on right now. And in 4 months, and the last 4 months have not been the easiest, because what happened was this person realized that they could make telepathic communication with me. So that has been going on, but very deceitfully so. But it never took my energy back down, because my choice was that I walk away. And there are decisions like that we don't make with intimate partners, with friends and family, with old school friends, with people from our past, where we think it's okay to carry on an energetic connection. And this is the only reason I'm doing this more in depth on the shadow self, because not only did that day really teach me something huge, that as I said no to this shadow person, even though I knew their real holy self too, but that was not what was in evidence. That was not what was activated. What was activated was this defensive, dark personality. Okay, so as I said no to that, I had no idea what that would do. But what happened immediately, and I mean immediately that I did the sign off and sat back down on a chair, I realized that something had happened to the solar plexus and the sacral chakras, and they had elevated, and that they have never changed back again. And that was in July of last year. So that's about 5 or 6 months ago now. And since then, there has been I blocked the person completely because I never wanted to feel that presence again, and realized that they must have been like this for 40 years. Or a very long time, because they could not come forward as the person that I had known them, even though we had an incredible spiritual connection. So there were could not open up through our communication. So the most important thing here is to know that it's not just that we go off and live our path. And say we may be miles away from our family. I certainly did this with my mother and father, because we certainly weren't friendly on a level of understanding emotionally, mentally, or spiritually about life. We had a physical connection. They were my mother and father, so I didn't spend a lot of time around them. But I know people do, even though there is not a good energetic connection. So what we're talking about here is going beyond family, blood ties, intimate ties, friendship ties. If you maintain that energetic connection with them, because you still feel like I did, I felt like I knew this person on the other level, so I had to maintain this energetic connection. It didn't really interfere with my life on a obvious level. See, now that's why I'm changing the words I'm using here, because I had not realized that had I have walked totally away from that connection without a thought that we would at some point maybe reconnect again on that incredible high spiritual level. If I had not have maintained that healing, that extra healing in my chakra system would have occurred 40 years ago. So I'm giving forth my information and sharing on this level so that other people realize this too, because it's huge because of where we're going now in this year, 2024. This is all about energetics. It's been leading to this point for many years, but now it is so. And it is about who we really are and what our power and our ability to rise beyond the normal. And this has come up every day so far in all of the starseed cards that I have been pulling for the last 5 days. That we are extraordinary, amazing light beings, and many of us are star-seeded here to bring about this next stage of evolution for the human collective. And what I have realized is that I am now in more of my power. And where did that come from? That came from a nudge, a huge nudge from the universe, from the divine, to nudge me back into direct contact, to realize what I was in contact with. Now, I'm not saying that this person cannot change. They may at some point, you know. I know it's been 40 years and they don't seem to have done any of the work at all. But it is possible that the events that they're going through now, because of the nudge that the universe gave to me, which healed me drastically on a level that I didn't think was possible. And my enthusiasm for the work that I'm involved with, and all sorts of different things are happening actually, because not only did I get that walk away, but I also allowed, when this person had realized, I did not realize that we could have this telepathic communication. I thought I had walked away from their shadow self, but what they had done was contacted me, and it was a very obvious mode of contact. It was not something I had to think, oh my God, this is not happening. It was definitely happening. I've allowed that for the last few months. But what I did recently, now this is another really, really big lesson. And the reason that recently I have done 2 shorts on the fact that when you are in a healing separation, because that's what this would be called, a healing separation from somebody who was then going to work on themselves after I walked away from their shadow self, okay, that you can have this telepathic communication and that that's okay. Now, I've not heard anybody say that this can be a very deceitful communication, because mine was on many occasions. And at some point I may tell you the stories, because some of them are quite funny, because they were trying to prove to themselves that we really did have this telepathic communication. So what they were doing was telling me that they were, because we're thousands of miles apart in physicality in different countries, but they were telling me that they had arrived in my country and they were going to meet up with me. And what happened was they had arranged for people to watch this happening, because they have money and they are well connected. And as I walked out of my house, there were cars coming from all directions to check that I was actually going where we had telepathically discussed we were going to meet, because we had no contact on any other level but telepathic. So that was quite funny, really, because I kind of played it out thinking halfway there, I thought they're not even in this country. They're doing this to prove, because my intuition is so strong. And when I actually got to the hotel that we had said we would meet at, I kind of looked around and wandered around for, a couple of minutes and looked as if I was still in the game, which I wasn't at that point, because I'd seen the cars with young Mexican men, because I live in Mexico, driving these cars who were obviously paid to watch this happening, so that this other person would know that actually we were definitely in telepathic communication. But that was one of the funny deceits, but there were many others which were not funny at all. So eventually what I did was cut off the telepathic, and actually cut as far as I could do it, because I'm not even sure this is possible when you have that sort of spiritual connection with somebody from other lives and that you are actually twin flames. I'm not sure. I'm no expert on this. This has only just all been put in front of me in the last 12 months. But I did try and cut every cord I could, because the deceit was just wrong. And it was just boring. Okay, so when I did that, when I cut the telepathic communication, which was the second time, okay, the elevation came in again. So what is happening now is that on a clairvoyant level, on a clairaudient level, which I'm very, very strong on, I've channeled 2 books and recently the Truth Testaments, and now channeling the sacred texts. So I am pretty strong on clairaudient anyway, because I hear the messages and type them as I hear them. But the clairaudient and the clairvoyant and the gifts are now getting more and more powerful. So again, cutting off from the telepathic communication elevated me. And I really want people to understand this. And as I said, recently I've put out 2 shorts, because I got called crazy when I put out a short about the deceit a few months ago. I immediately put out a short about, because I had not realized that the level that you need on telepathic communication direct like that with somebody can still mean that they can be deceitful. I had not realized that, and I wanted other people to realize that. And I think there's a lot of twin flames out there who do not realize that, and it is stopping your own elevation. So if there's anything going on like that, or even that you would never dream that that is happening, because I didn't until I realized it was. But the most important thing for me is my work and my ability to connect to my higher self and be the best that I can to help this new world through that we are creating, each and every one of us. So for me to know that now that, okay, I walked away because I realized on the physical, mental, emotional level and the spiritual level that this person was in shadow. And then I walk away and stop allowing any telepathic communication during this so-called healing separation. And I elevate again. My enthusiasm for my work has grown even bigger. So if we don't know any of this, I've never read about any of this in any books. I've never been given this information direct, but I have it now. And the reason for this video is to allow people to understand this, and that when you carry on a connection energetically, even if you don't see somebody for 40 years, it is holding back your energetic light path, because that is what I found out about myself, which is an incredible thing. I had no idea. And if I look back at it, it was because on the higher level, when we were connecting soul to soul in the beginning, it was the most beautiful thing I ever experienced. So I did not see it in any way as being detrimental to my path. And I'm not saying that for me in particular, it was terribly detrimental, because I carried on. That's been my only path for the last 40 years, because I was already running a center that included the food and health side of things, and I had therapy rooms and all sorts of things, workshops going on there 40 years ago. But I now know that on some level, as I cut away from both of these sides of connection with this person, I elevated. So the truth is there that don't do it, unless you know, because I had no idea that this person was living deeper and deeper levels of their shadow self through the 40 years, which I do know now because I've done more looking into this myself and realizing that all my thoughts about what was happening to them, because some of the stuff I didn't believe and the feelings I had, I didn't believe. I just thought, well, listen, they've got all these followers. They must be telling some of the truth. And I realize now that actually they were a huge imposter. And it's held up their path completely. I mean, on a mental, emotional, physical and spiritual level, they are starting from a new beginning, if they ever do, because they really have not followed the path of enlightenment, the path of towards the light. What they followed is a path of money, power, and corruption. And I think as we go through the next few months, what we're going to see is they tried to stop my path too, because what I'm seeing and what is coming back to me is memories that I had not, I didn't have the ability to remember certain parts of my connection with their family until I actually was watching a video that they did, and they were telling a barefaced lie. And what I realized was there was fraud going on there, and that the truth came back to me from another member of their family that had spoken to me in the early days. And I think there's so much more to this than I knew at the time. But that is to be revealed. But the most important thing here is that you understand the levels of the shadow. Not only your own, but other people's. And if you keep connections with other people, it can be, and on that real connection level, because that's what mine was. It was a soul connection, but it delayed somewhat my full power of my gifts. And I'm admitting this because I want other people to learn from this, because I really had no idea until this over the last few months has been revealed to me. But not only this, as I said, there is much bigger stuff which is going to come out, and I think will be in the public eye because of the company that this person works for, and also the fraud that has been going on for years and years and years in their own personal life, and that has affected mine. And I had no idea. I just kept this, what I thought was a really special spiritual connection with them. So we live and learn, don't we? And, you know, a lot of this stuff I had no idea about. I knew about twin flames. I knew that I had a really deep connection with this person, but I did not know any of the side issues to do with hanging on to that connection, not knowing that they were in full shadow. And that would have been holding back. And not only that, they were using their shadow aspects of the alchemist, magician side of themselves, the healer side. They were using all shadow aspects. And they were actually pitting it against me all these years when I was holding on to the connection with them with no contact as such on a physical, mental, or emotional level, but that they were able to key into me. There's so many warnings here. I don't know whether I'm making it easy enough for people to understand what I'm talking about here. Hopefully so. But if not, please ask me questions in the comments, because I think this is one of the most important things I've discovered in the last decade, to be honest, about energy, and about also that we should be more aware of the karmic side of everything, because there's also this in here, and I don't want to get into that too much now, but I will when all of this gets released into the public, because it will, because there are many people here that have been implicated and may also be on the authority side too, and there may be secret institutions that are implicated in this as well as the judiciary. I'm not sure of all the facts yet, but I know that it's going to be revealed within the next 2 months, I would say. So I will come back into this subject when this gets revealed, because then I'll be able to see why all the different members of his family were involved on a karmic level, because I had no idea of this either. As far as I was concerned, I had friends within his family. And I am now realizing that they have been working against me for the last 15 years. So this is, again, when we get to the karmic aspect of this, I will go deeper. But I'm hoping this is going to just trigger a few people who are hanging on to stuff that they have no idea what quality of energy they're hanging on to. And that it is really, really important to understand that. And to start to understand the esoteric and karmic and energetic side of our higher selves and our shadows. So I'm going to leave it there for now, because this is an intense, deep subject. It's also being covered by many psychics, and there are many people who are doing readings all the time about this situation. That there will be many others going through this at the same time as me, because as a truth comes out in one country, it comes out in another. That's how it's always been. It's like inventions. Inventions over the years have come out in one country, and at the same time, it's being thought of in another country, and it evolves at the same moment. And this is the same as new truths about our esoteric value, our karmic value, our energetic value, in denseness and in light. This is what is coming out in these psychic readings, and mine is only one story, but I'm thanking all those readers who opened it up for me to begin to understand what was happening, and to begin to understand that it was involved in my own personal life, because I had no idea. So let's elevate our thinking. Let's elevate our knowledge, our wisdom on this energetic light value level to understand how important everything we do, every thought we have, every person we associate with, every protection that we ask for, because this again has been a mainstay for me. I have never done that in my life. I'm going to admit to that. I never thought I needed protection until the last 7 months, because I was never involved with dark matter, dark energy, dark spell work. I was never involved with anything like that ever in my life. But in the last 6 to 7 months, I am now daily confirming gratitude for the incredible protection that I've been given over this last period of time, and for decades that I did not even know about. So this is about us elevating our knowledge and elevating our gratitude for everything on those levels, and expanding our thoughts out to all those dimensional levels that we are involved with every second of every day, every night. And yet we ignore it until it just comes up into conversation. Now we must include it in our thoughts, our values, our choices. It's certainly something that I have elevated to in the last few months, and I am very grateful for the knowledge that I have received so that I can walk easier and more quickly and more stealthily on an energetic path and go forward now to complete my mission on time. And thank you for listening. If you like the levels of information that I'm going into, then please subscribe and please give us a like for this video. And thank you for your time and allowing me into your space, which is very valuable. Thank you.